Saturday morning.
A bit of a funny start to the first ever podcast, the Base Talkz. Some noises in the background.
Yeah, we've started. This is it.
This is the podcast now.
Welcome to the podcast.
As you can see and as you can hear, there's a bit of a background noise and we are a little bit unstructured at the beginning. It's all new. We are all learning on the go. But this is the first ever episode of the Base Talkz, Didcot TRAIN'S very first podcast. So today we're going to talk about who we are, what we plan to do, where we plan to take it, and all those fun things there. So I'm Ryan, first and foremost. I'm a senior youth worker here at Didcot TRAIN. Been working with young people now for 6 years. This is my first involvement in any type of podcast as well. I've only ever been a guest before, so it's all new to me. And then should we go down one by one and just explain who we are?
So does that mean next then, right?
It would mean you
Come to
Yeah.
me next. Cool. Okay, all right,
I'll
set the example. That's all right, that's all right.
Yeah.
So I'm Tom. I'm a volunteer here at Didcot TRAIN. I've been volunteering here for about 18 months now. Mainly do kind of youth club stuff, but get involved in participation stuff. So here to take part in this podcast. Very excited.
Shall I go now?
You do what you got to do, Ruby.
Okay, so I'm Ruby. I've been at Didcot TRAIN for about, it's been a year now,
Over a year
January.
now,
Yeah, and I'm really excited to do this. George?
I'm George, I've been at Didcot TRAIN for ages. You
Don't sound so down about
You
it.
was here before.
I've
you was
been
here
I've
before
been
me.
there for a while.
Yeah.
I love Didcot TRAIN.
Really good to hear.
So we're going to say why we're doing the podcast.
Well, yeah, we'll go into that. You mentioned Didcot TRAIN. Well, should we give a bit of an explanation about what we do, yeah?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, so Didcot TRAIN, we've been going for 20 years now. And we are 20 years, yeah.
20 years.
Originated in a church, didn't it?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it is our
Anniversary.
20th anniversary this year.
Nice knowledge.
Yeah, it's our 20th anniversary year, and
When is it?
this year.
We need to do something big for
What's the
it.
date?
We don't know the
We
date.
have a party.
We need to do like a
everyone's
big
invited.
part. Yeah.
But,
Didcot TRAIN ball.
Actually, no, I think 20th anniversary may have been last year. Anyway, we digress. But
We're now at 20 years.
we're now at 20
That's
years.
the important
That's
thing.
the
We are
important
now
thing.
at 20 years.
And over those 20
20
years, the charity itself has changed, it's adapted, and currently we have a number of open access sessions for young people in Didcot.
Definitely.
I tell you what's wild about that. So right now there might be someone who 20 years ago engaged as an 18-year-old
And they've now got kids
who's now 38
with kids
And
who
they've got
potentially
kids
come here.
coming to Didcot TRAIN.
Yeah.
who might come to Didcot
Yeah, I
TRAIN.
know.
Yeah.
It's insane, isn't it?
So there might be a 38-year-old out there who's kind of like the original young person at Didcot TRAIN.
That'd
Well,
be
if you
amazing,
are-
wouldn't
Give us a buzz.
it? Yeah, no, I like it. But yeah, we do a lot of stuff. We
Yeah.
effectively work to help young people with emotional, social and educational needs and things like that. As of course, we all have those needs and we do it in many, many type of ways. I don't feel this is my space to share what we do. I think it's best coming from the young people. What is it we do that you enjoy the most?
Want to go?
I don't mind. You go first.
So obviously you do your sessions at the youth club sessions, and that's how everyone, I think. Is that how you come across Didcot TRAIN? Like the sessions, the youth club,
Yeah, definitely.
the sessions, and you do like all the different types of sessions: the dinner and debate, the shout, and then you run like more private group sessions, and then you started to do all the trips in the half terms and things, and that's how everyone starts to become more involved with it. But I know you go to schools as well, but I come across Didcot TRAIN from the youth club.
And
Here's a question for you then, right? So when you first heard about Didcot TRAIN, what were you expecting compared to what you know
Yeah,
now?
so when someone told me, I think it might have been one of the now youth workers here, told me about it when she was going, and she said to me, like, do you want to come to youth club tonight? And I was a bit like, oh, like, what's youth club? I wasn't that fussed about coming, and then I was like, oh, actually, and it started coming on just a Tuesday, then it was a Tuesday and Friday, then it was just trips, then I just started becoming more involved.
you talk about trips, and so as a charity, of course, we have a flagship program called Explore More, where we take young people on a trip to France. You two were on that trip. George, what did you think of it?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah?
I think we took part in lots of activities that won't happen a lot for like a normal a person in general. So it was a trip to remember.
Yeah,
It was.
it was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Would do it again.
What is it you did in France?
what did we do? So we stayed in this. What would you call the house? Like
A massive.
Like a farm. It was a
It's like a
farmhouse. It was a
farmhouse.
farmhouse. Yeah, yeah.
and it was on the most like the
An olive farm.
scenery. Yeah, the scenery was amazing. So it was on the house, and then in the morning we do like work around the farm, help around, do all sorts of bits. What did we do? We did stone picking.
Picking up cow poo.
Yeah,
Cow.
picking up
No, goat.
Sheep.
It was
Sheep.
the
Sheep.
smell.
Sheep poo.
Sheep poo.
Okay.
The smell was
Oh,
It gets
Like,
in your lungs, doesn't it?
That's what
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
been told.
like you
It's
become
in your
immune to it.
lungs.
Like you become immune to it.
Yeah.
I've been told that's the one thing that every young person I've spoken to about France tells me is the smell.
And like we come back and we'd have like our blue. What would you call it?
overalls.
that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
wear,
yeah.
And they'd
Overalls,
just
yeah.
be
Yeah.
like, they'd just be chucked in the wardrobe. They just think.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then in the afternoon we do like really good activities. What did we do? We did.
I can't remember the professional names for them. We jumped off rocks.
Yeah, yeah.
We did canyoning. No,
Canyoning.
canyoning.
Yeah, yeah.
that
We
was,
did
that was
canyoning.
what we did on the
That was good
last
fun.
day in the sea. We did. What was that
Oh
other
yeah,
one
the
called?
canyon the.
Oh no, was that on the waterfall? Tom actually went as well as a volunteer with
I was
us.
there. Yeah, yeah. I was there.
What else did we do? Like abseiling. We climbed up. What was that? I don't know what that
Oh,
was.
some
Couple of
mountain.
mountains. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We
Stayed-
stayed the night over at the mountain in a
Yeah.
little rock shed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not many people have done that. I'd never done that before, so that's,
Yeah,
that
we was
was
planning on
exciting.
sleeping under the stars, but the weather wasn't on our side. So
No, that sounds amazing. Obviously, I was back here in sunny little Didcot, not experiencing the joy. But the stories I've heard, the things I've been told about it must have been amazing. And as you were pointing out, George, for the young people, this is such a surreal experience.
yeah,
Exactly.
Something that you're not likely to do as a young person.
and that's what I didn't expect doing when I come to Didcot Train. Like in January, I wouldn't have thought, oh, I'm going to be going to France in September, because I also did my work experience as well here.
You did.
And George, what do you think in the last year is the biggest thing you've taken away from being involved in Didcot Train?
I think that I've learnt from the volunteers as well, like just them setting an example for me. I've added on to that, and I've brought that into like my life as well, and the way I act.
Mm.
And I think it just improves you mentally.
It's really
Wow.
good.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You got any examples of that, or are you happy to sit with that?
In schools, they come into
Yeah.
schools, and what do we talk about? Toxic
So
masculinity.
just to add context, I've been into the school with George, and I've delivered some group work with a colleague of mine. And as you were saying, it's about toxic masculinity, but being a healthy man and identifying what healthy masculinity is. So it's not so much about a negative stereotype, it's more about how to teach young boys to become healthy adult men. And we've spoken about, like you say, emotions and what toxic masculinity means. We spoke a lot about being a bystander. We spoke about being assertive as opposed to aggressive and things like that. And I know that you've been very complimentary of that, which of course is very much appreciated by us. And that's why we do what we do, yeah.
It was good fun. And it was good to learn how to act on other people's actions.
Yeah, so of course as youth workers, as a team of people who support young people, it's not just playing pool at youth club and chilling and chatting, it's actual other stuff involved as well. We are effectively in a position to help shape young people and help develop young people, and I think that's really nice to hear that you feel you benefit from it. And also, Ruby, you
Yeah.
saying that you've come here and you've built friendships and stuff.
Oh, definitely. I'm not friends with half the people. Like before I started coming, I wasn't friends with. I didn't even know who half of them was.
I
Like,
didn't even know Ruby was.
No.
when she started.
Yeah, and now you
well, I mean,
both.
we did go to primary school together.
Oh, you went primary school together.
Oh,
No, but like-
he'd forgotten you. He'd
Yeah,
forgotten you
thank
from
you.
primary school
No,
days.
but like, yeah, I wasn't. I never had a proper conversation with you or like anyone really. And yeah, it's just shaped us up really, and like special things that we've done. It's like made me change. Like France really opened my eyes, like a whole different world.
So go on. What did you take away from France then? What was the kind of key thing that actually you thought, wow, I'm coming away from this different from when I went in?
It's just like believing in yourself more. Actually, there's more to life rather than just. I don't know. I just have a whole different like perspective on things. Like when I went to France, it makes me realise what people do, like how people act, and a lot of things on France. We start an activity and I'll be like, oh, I don't like this. Do you not remember? I'd be like,
I do,
not
yeah.
like this at all. Like, it was canyon and I was complaining and I was like, I don't want to do this.
It was scary, but it was
And then we
fun.
did it, and then you was like, you just got to believe in yourself more. And since then, I've done a lot of things, and I'm like, wow, I can actually do it.
So one of my favourite bits, one of my favourite memories from you in France, Ruby, was basically every activity we did. You started off like thinking, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this. And then honestly, every single activity we did, you said, that was the best thing we've done all week. And we got to the end of the week and it was like, how can this top anything else that you've done this week? We're like, no, that was the best thing we've done all week, definitely.
That canyoning was fun.
Yeah.
But
I think that's so important.
yeah, then like all the opportunities, just.
And the party at the end, we had a little party.
Yeah, we had a party at the end, yeah.
A very child-friendly party, man.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of.
There was jelly, there was ice cream, there was panda pops or whatever it is.
Pancakes there at one point.
And
Yeah.
what did we do? We connected our phone
To the speaker.
to the speaker, and we was.
Family friendly music.
Family-friendly music.
yeah.
Lots of songs.
Eminem was a fan favourite of the France gang.
Yeah.
But I
yeah.
suppose the main takeaway from this is that you had fun. And
Oh, I would
course,
100% go
that.
back.
Yes.
That's really important. And what other experiences have you had with train that really kind of stand out for you?
So I went on the radio with Didcot Train, thanks to Ryan. And it was when I was doing work experience here that I mentioned how I want to do that when I'm older, like be a presenter, either in radio, like TV. And Ryan had some connections. And then we met Will, when was it? In August time?
It would have been summer holidays, yeah.
Yeah, and we just spoke about what I wanted to do. And then we met a couple more times from then, started to pre-record. And then I got to go to the studios, had a look
Did some
around,
editing.
did some editing. And then it got aired on live radio. And that was amazing, like one of the best experiences ever. And I wouldn't have been able to do that, like thinking back in January. I just wouldn't have imagined doing that.
Oh, so you thought actually back in January you maybe wouldn't have had the confidence or to be able
Yeah,
to do that?
and just not even, I wouldn't even picture myself actually doing it. And that's obviously all that happened after France. And I was getting a bit of second thoughts after a couple of times. I was like, oh, do I want to do it? And then I'm so happy.
I remember the drive down. It was about a 30-minute drive, and Tom was there with us as well, and you were very worried. And I think the thing that stood out was you were able to talk yourself out of that worry.
Yeah.
You were able to challenge yourself, and it was a very healthy and productive way of being, and even up to the point of listening to the recording back in the studio, because of course you hadn't heard it by that point, had you? And just listening to it back, and then the point where it was Kat Orman, the presenter, when she said, right, let's go, interview time. You were worried right up to that point, but you just flowed naturally.
We didn't expect to have the live interview after the been made, and I was like, oh, what's she going to ask me?
That was a bit of a surprise, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was
Sorry
a
about that, I should have
surprise.
mentioned it.
No, and then all of a sudden it was just natural.
Yeah, you flow really well.
And then that's how the idea of the podcast
Yeah,
came into play.
definitely.
So I got a question before we move off train. So we talked a little bit about what train does, but like it'd be good to just shout out the rest of the team. So tell us who else have we got here?
Now we've got J1 Productions.
Shout out to
Jaden.
Jaden.
Shout out to Jaden.
So
Yeah.
we got him in the background, and then what about
Well,
you
we've
mentioned
got
staff and volunteers and stuff? Who we got?
the big boss. We got Alex.
Oh, Alex is lovely.
Got you.
We've got Charlotte. We've got Nicola.
Yeah.
We've got Yaz, or Yasmin. And we've got obviously Tom. We've got Becky. I'm trying to think of volunteers
Yeah.
now.
Emma. Yeah.
Ryan.
What's the other lady?
I'm not a volunteer.
What's the
Oh,
other
yeah,
lady?
you're
part of the
We've
team.
got Darren.
Darren. Yeah. Can't forget Darren.
Yeah, Darren.
Darren.
He's a legend. Train legend.
Yeah.
Train legend.
Yeah.
What's that?
So we've got Alex,
Yeah.
we've got Charlotte, we've got Nicola, we've got Yasmin,
Yeah.
then you've got me, that's your staff,
And you've got
then we've got Tom, we've got
Becky.
Darren, we've got Becky, we've got Emma.
I think it might be Emma.
You're thinking of Emma.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
thinking of
You're
Emma.
thinking
That's
of
why
Emma.
we're confused, because George had
Yeah.
already mentioned the name. So
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
thinking of
there you
Emma,
go.
yeah.
I beat her in pool.
You beat her in pool.
So I suppose when you kind of talk about beating in pool, that's about the interaction, isn't it? And things like that. And that's quite an important thing, isn't it? Building those relationships with trusted adults. And that's one of the key
Yeah,
things
and-
for us, is having to role model things for the young people.
And it's nice to have like that adult, someone you can talk to as an adult who you know that's not gonna, who doesn't also know everything about your whole life, but you can go and tell them small things and be like, look, I've had a really bad day, and you want to tell someone that isn't your family or your friends, and you want to have that advice or anything like that. But yeah.
So that's what we do at Train. That's who we are. And as you mentioned, because of your visit to BBC Radio Oxford, which, for what it's worth, huge thank you, of course, to Will Banks for helping sort that out and showing great patience and care in helping you feel settled and giving you the space to learn as well.
He was great.
He was
really great.
He was amazing. And
brilliant.
Can I say as well, he's also kept in touch.
Yeah.
So he's an amazing person, and great credit to BBC Radio Oxford. And that's where the idea of the podcast come about, because as you said, you want to get into presenting, whether radio, TV, or whatever. And we discussed the podcast idea, and I suppose at some points I thought it would never happen. I imagine you did too, but here we are.
Here we are doing the podcast
with towels up around the office.
Yeah, we thought the setup's quite interesting.
It doesn't look like this at youth club.
No, it doesn't. Not at all. But yeah, why we?
I like the change.
I know, it's nice.
It's cool, isn't it?
The
It's cool.
scenery behind it as well.
We've got the game that everyone loves a bit of.
Yeah.
So are we gonna say why?
Yeah, move us
Yeah,
on. Talk
yeah.
about it.
So, well, obviously the reason that we're doing the podcast is because we thought we want to do more about Didcot Train and what we do, and then going to do different episodes on different things. But it comes from the idea of the radio, because obviously we spoke about it on the radio, but there wasn't enough time to really just the inside of Didcot Train and what it's about, like the people of Didcot Train. And
I suppose as well, we've had discussions about making Didcot more represented as well, almost, because there's a lot of young people in Didcot, and a large portion of them do engage with training. As a youth worker, I know that our job is advocacy, so giving young people a voice. And by doing a podcast, it's something that we can do. And we are recording as well, doing visuals, which apparently I didn't tell the young people.
No.
I'm adamant I did.
right, all right.
You're getting a thumbs up from George, though. You're getting a thumbs up
Yeah.
from George. That's all right.
I'm adamant. But either way,
Thumbs down on
every
it.
camera. But either way, it's important that we can, I suppose, do something that is really beneficial to young people and something that young people are going to engage with. So we're all on YouTube, we're all watching things as well. And I know the tagline for the Base Talkz is for the young people, by the young people. So I suppose over time, Tom and I will sort of fade out and gracefully, of course. And
Cheers,
then,
mate. Yeah.
And then young people will get involved. And let's say we've got Jaden in productions as well in the background. He's monitoring all the screens and stuff like that. So it's certainly something we're trying to.
But so I've got a
people.
question. So do you guys listen to podcasts? Do you watch stuff on YouTube? What do you kind of listen to other than music?
It's where I listen to podcasts before I went to bed.
Before you went to bed. All right. No, yeah, that's a good time. Yeah,
It's very healthy sleep
Sound.
hygiene.
No,
Like-
it was do I say who it is?
Yeah.
It was they're called the E-Boys. I don't think they got it anymore, but it had like a group of YouTubers, and they used to make podcasts. And
So that's the question then. E-boys or Sidemen?
Sideman has to.
Sidemen or
actually-
Beta Squad?
You're right.
This is a
I
setup.
think Sideman's got.
Right.
I've been watching them for longer.
Jaden's disagreeing.
Jaden disagrees.
So you're like Con in the Sidemen, isn't you? Just one in the background.
Yeah, you go over free.
Beta Squad, yeah. So what were you going to say?
I listen to Saving Grace.
Is it? What's that about?
I don't think it'll be your cup of tea.
No?
I
No.
want to know what that is.
Yeah.
No, it's
Right,
just, you know,
share it
GK
with us.
Barry
Share it with
on
us.
TikTok.
No.
She just like talks to influencers, Love Island people. Just gets all the. It's just like it's not very educational, but it's
That's all right.
interesting.
That's
Doesn't
all right.
have to
Yeah,
be,
it doesn't
as
have
long
to
as
be.
it-
No, but I'll
benefits
just
you,
listen to
yeah.
that if I've got it on, or just more of a YouTube video type of person.
What are your thoughts on Love Island? Do you like Love Island?
Thoughts on Love Island?
Yeah,
I've never watched
it's a
it.
bit boring this
I
year.
don't watch it myself. Do you watch it?
No, I've never watched it.
No.
Is there a Love Island podcast?
Is
I don't know.
there?
There's After Sun, which is on a Sunday, which is after Love
That's
Island.
clever.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's clear. Oh, yeah.
And it's a bit like a talk show with people who've just been dumped from the island.
No.
It's just been done from there.
I love it.
James, you like Love Island?
Jaden saying yeah.
Yeah.
Jaden saying yeah.
Yeah, I've genuinely never watched it at all.
This is the thing. Here's a question. Do you watch it live? Do you watch? Do you kind of make a note, tune it? Because everyone says younger people don't watch live telly anymore, right?
Oh, I watch it every 9 o'clock. Every night.
You're tuning in at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Unless I have plans, but as soon as I'm home, it'll be straight on.
Okay. All right.
Just become into a habit of watching.
And then after sun on a
Sunday?
Sunday, that'll be
Sunday.
like
After
10
sun on
o'clock.
Sunday, right.
And on Saturday, it's the unseen bits.
And is everybody talking about it at school?
Yeah.
Okay, everyone's talking about it at school.
Yeah, well, I don't go to a mixed school, but all the girls that I'm with.
Okay.
No, the mixed school has not been mentioned once.
It's not been mentioned. So you're not watching it, George?
No, I'm against.
You're against it.
Against it.
Okay.
Could put so much more better things on.
Okay.
Like watching paintball or
E-boys.
something, yeah.
Oh, what's that man?
You're
It's
obviously
like-
not
I'd rather
that.
watch that.
No, to be fair, I'd rather watch. No, I wouldn't. I'd watch. But what's that person who just makes things on YouTube out of like mud and sticks, and they make all these.
They make the house.
Yeah.
There's loads of people that do that,
Houses.
isn't there?
They're quite satisfying.
No, like 5-minute crafts as well.
You like 5-minute crafts?
TikTok or something.
They're never real. It's always fake, though, isn't it? I'd never believe those.
But EastEnders is top tier. So.
You're watching EastEnders?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I've not watched
EastEnders.
EastEnders for about 10 years
Jaden's
now.
watching EastEnders.
No,
You're
is
watching
it?
EastEnders.
It's
Jaden's
like
watching EastEnders.
It's up there. It's up there. EastEnders, 100%.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
It's so interesting.
What happened to Christmas?
Oh, Mick
I-
Carter.
Oh,
that was.
Is it now a good time to talk about? I was just wondering, people catching up, could we give off
From
spoilers?
Christmas?
You know what? Yeah, it's Christmas.
You've had
Go
long
on,
enough.
spoil it,
If you've
spoil
not
it.
watched the
Yeah,
Christmas
yeah.
episode, you've had
Yeah.
long
Go on,
enough.
let's spoil it. What happened?
He drove. Well, no, his ex-wife and his new wife were in a car.
Oh.
They get taken a bit of control, and she accidentally drove off a cliff, and he went in to save them. Like he saved Janine. Yeah. And then he went back in for Linda, and then oh my god, I'm losing my voice. And then Linda, as she come out, Mick went in to save her, and then he was never found. It was really emotional. Danny Dyer.
But how come I saw a video of him the next day on holiday on the beach?
No, that was
What, the
Danny
man
Dyer.
who plays him?
That was Danny Dyer, not Mick.
No, but he was like, I've made it.
No, I did.
no,
I
I love
did see that
EastEnders.
video as well.
That was a good video.
Yeah. I didn't understand the context because I don't watch EastEnders no more.
No, you've got
They
to
don't
watch
watch
it.
Emmerdale.
No,
No.
not Coronation Street, not
Jaden.
Hollyoaks.
Emmerdale. Something happened. My mum had it on after when I got back from school. It looked quite interesting.
No, EastEnders.
Okay.
Do you know what? If you just watched one episode of EastEnders, you'd be hooked.
I think I watched some of the Christmas Eve one, but I must have got bored because I didn't watch.
I mean, there's your challenge for the week, Jordan.
Yeah.
Before we come back
That's
to
your
the film
homework.
again,
We'll review it.
you got to tell us which episode you watched and whether you liked it or not.
I watched an episode of
EastEnders
EastEnders, Emmerdale.
And Coronation Street.
and Love Island.
And
No, you draw the line at
then
Love
what
Island.
you do, we then have to compare them.
I'll come and I'll do my research.
Yeah, which one's top tier? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Wow.
I think I could do that.
But that's what we're trying to do, isn't it? Put
I
something
mean,
out
I
there.
don't think this is going to be like Love Island.
Well, no, of course, I hope not.
No.
But I just mean it's going to be something that young people could talk about at school and engage with, and hopefully get young people interested in coming along.
Definitely.
Yeah.
doing
Have some
interviews.
special guests.
We do have some ideas as well, talking about doing Q&As and an Ask George segment where you answer people's
Ask George.
problems. And, like Ask Jeeves, but it's George and things like that.
That's a
They're
dated
too-
reference
They're
now.
too young to
That's a
understand
dated
Ask Jeeves.
reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll just like.
What was it?
Used to be a search
Yeah.
engine,
It's basically Google, but you had to go on Google to find it.
and he was like a little butler.
So George is going to be Google. We'll have a segment on
Yeah.
George being Google.
So we are recording this on the 21st of January.
Yeah.
It is our
Big
first
day
ever
today.
recording. So it is a bit hit and miss in terms of we don't know what to say and whatnot, but that's what we want the podcast to be, right? Natural. You knew it was being
So
filmed.
you've said. So
You
you've
know.
said 100 times now.
This is being filmed. So,
You
yeah.
had 2 watches. Can we just
still
point that
got
out?
one
You've
from
got
France.
2 watches on.
Yeah.
Big one from France.
Yeah.
So
So
France has come up again. France has
Yeah,
come
good,
up
good,
again.
good.
So what is that from France then?
So, all right. So it's not 2 watches. I'm wearing a Fitbit, and I'm wearing a Fitbit because I like to wear a proper watch. So
Yeah.
I've
But
got
does
a
the
proper
Fitbit
watch
tell
on.
the time?
The Fitbit does tell the time, but I'm not looking at it for the time. I'm using it to measure my steps. And then the wristband is from France. So we did a session in France on kind of personality types, strengths, that kind of thing.
It was
And
good.
We chose
Oh, thanks. That's kind
That was
of
actually good, that session.
we chose colours based on people's strengths. So I've still got mine on. A couple of people have still got theirs on from the trip.
What colour did I get?
Some of us have lost theirs.
Some of them just took, yeah.
Some of us, let's all look at Ruby.
Ruby.
Sorry?
Some of us have lost theirs.
I haven't lost mine.
Oh, okay, all right.
Just
fair
don't
enough.
wear it anymore.
Just don't
No,
wear
I'm
it.
not allowed to for school.
Ah, there you go.
So I don't get how a thing on my wrist will affect my learning. But
That's life.
Maybe we can have a conversation about it on another episode, because that's what we're doing, isn't it? That's what this podcast is going to be. Just an insight into being a young person in Didcot, I suppose. What is it you two want to get out of the podcast? George, I'm asking you first.
Great.
You're welcome.
Well, I didn't really want to pass the opportunity down. I don't think I'll start a podcast ever again. So, like I said, it's another experience that I'm going to cherish.
Or you might get the bug, and then in a year's time,
Yeah,
you've
like
got like
see
5
what's on.
podcasts that you've set up.
I could do, yeah, I might do that actually.
I think I'll help.
I think
Yeah.
I'll run out of things to say by then.
No,
I don't think you'll ever run out of things to say.
No, but this is the thing. George knows when to stop, but I just ramble on and on and on.
But that can be a healthy thing though, because you can then construct your sentences to be productive and whatnot. And we recognise that on the radio, in that you were able, the conversation on the radio just flowed. There was no awkward silences or anything like that. It was just a flowing conversation. And you had a natural conversation as well. And Tom and I were actually talking about, where you had to segue into the next song.
Yeah.
We were talking, weren't we, about how she mentioned the song and the artist.
Yeah,
it was just
that's
natural.
impressive. Yeah, yeah.
Because you were told, it was pointed out on the screen what you had to mention,
I know, I was scared I was going to say the wrong song.
but you did it naturally. So sometimes it's good to talk, and sometimes it's good to know when not to.
Yeah.
That just comes with development and maturity, right?
I just waffle.
But that's why we've made it constructive, and we're setting up. There's no beef. We're all vegan here. We're all vegan here. No beef. But now, all jokes aside, this is the perfect sort of platform, I suppose, to develop our communication skills and all this and all that, right? Yeah. And it's also a chance for George to wake up as he sits there yawning.
That's like my.
He's had enough.
Yeah.
He's had enough.
We're done.
enough.
We're done.
So go on, just before we round up then, because I think we're going to think about different topics that we can talk about. We're going to have a bit of a plan over the next few weeks, that kind of thing. We're hoping to get these out pretty regularly. But maybe if we could ask 2 of you to give us kind of your top 2 issues that you think are affecting kind of young people in Didcot right now. Like, what are the things that people are talking about?
An issue, obviously, is just social media as a
That's
whole.
what I was
Social
gonna
media.
say. Yeah.
The-
Impact of social media. Is that what you're going to throw?
Go on,
Right, go.
explain it to us. Go on.
Just the thing is, someone can just even anything really. It can just get spread around so easy. You can make up rumours so easy. You don't know who to believe really.
It's that being in constant touch with people, right? So you're never not in touch with like everybody.
Yeah,
You don't have to be in touch with everyone.
Yeah, but
really.
you are. With social media, you're constantly, you can't escape it.
Yeah.
It makes the world a small
Yeah,
place.
if there was no social, that's what I mean. It feels like you know everyone. And if there was no social media, half of us wouldn't know each other. Half of us wouldn't know what to do with our lives. It is that though, isn't it? Imagine if you didn't have Snapchat.
Imagine going back to the old days though. You have
to write letters
old
to
telephone.
people.
Old days. I'm not even in my
careful
30s.
now. Careful now.
I'm not even in my 30s, and I remember talking about social media.
Easy about
Yeah.
talking about being in your 30s, yeah?
I just mean that I haven't had that age yet, and obviously, I was saying that, I remember I was so excited when I set up a Bebo account.
Yeah,
You don't
I
know what
remember.
Bebo is, do you?
Bebo was the thing back in the
Yeah.
day.
You could have music on your page, couldn't you?
You'd spend hours on Bebo.
Yeah.
You had a little hit counter as well, so you knew how many
Yeah.
people had seen your page. You could
Yeah.
do a little whiteboard drawing. It was
Yeah.
the thing.
And it
I'm
was-
telling
it
you,
was-
that and MSN
I
Messenger.
would say it was Tom who was everyone's first friend, right? On MySpace.
Yeah,
and-
I never had MySpace.
Did you not?
Do you know MySpace?
I've heard of it.
I never had
Oh,
MySpace.
jeez.
TV shows, like old TV shows.
I'm gonna go on my MySpace.
But
Well, I was saying
That
that.
was not an American.
So, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is my favourite ever.
That's the
Yeah,
song,
that's a
isn't
good show.
it?
Yeah,
And
the
it's a
theme
song,
song,
yeah.
yeah.
By
But
Will Smith.
That was early 90s, so we're talking 30 years ago now.
we made our own one in our year 6 leavers party.
Did you?
Go on then.
No, I don't know. I can't remember it now.
Go
Not
on.
not safe for work. Yeah.
No, it was the theme tune, and we had to make up our own words. And, well,
Okay, go on. So social media is one.
Definitely.
What's the other thing that people are talking about? People are concerned about right now.
School.
finite resources.
Finite resources. Yeah, no, I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Like
yeah.
helium.
Yeah, yeah.
Like helium.
Oil and gas.
No, I don't know what I don't know which ones are which, but just did my science test. Got 78.
Well done. Congratulations. It's good
Nice
stuff.
work.
I think like school, the stress
School.
and pressure of school, how much it actually like takes a toll on teenagers, and that jump from like year 7 or 8 to year like 9s and 10s and 11s, like the jump of work and like having COVID and how it's impacted us.
COVID, that's a big one, right?
Yeah. That's
a
you
massive
you
one.
guys spent what 2 years not going to school or being
Yeah.
schooling from home?
And like from coming from someone who's doing their GCSEs this year, it's quite scary knowing that I've missed on that chunk of school
Yeah.
and like the government.
I'm not happy though. As a year 10 student, we don't get the equation sheets.
No,
in
you
our
don't. We've
GCSEs.
only just like qualified. To
Well, I
get
think
them.
that's rubbish. Our year 7 year.
Yeah,
I-
but you was you
but it was our transition year,
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
so we had to adjust to it, and then we get sent home for lockdown. 2 years later, we come back, and that was our first full year. It was like
Year
Yeah.
10.
year 8, year
Year-
9,
Year 9.
Year 10. Year 9? Year 9.
Year 9.
Well, yeah, I don't know, one of
Yeah.
the two.
Year 9, because no, but then we missed some school in year 8.
Yeah, so our first
Yeah,
full year
you
was
was year
year
eight.
9.
Wow.
So
okay.
we've had
Yeah.
3 years of
Yeah, my first
on
year
and
was
off
year
school.
10. Oh no, my first full year was year 7 and then year 10.
Okay, so big topics: social media,
Yeah.
school, like kind of the pressures of being a young person right
yeah,
now.
like growing up as a teenager in this
Yeah.
day and age. And like the worry of the future and what the future holds.
See, this is the thing. So obviously, as a member of staff here, I do the mentoring with stuff with the young people, and I've done a little bit of research looking into loneliness and anxiety, and there's an increase in anxiety and an increase in loneliness, and particularly with under 18s, because as you say, the pressures of school, 2 years of isolation. I think people potentially forgot how to communicate with people, whether it was online. I think we're living in very, very different times. When they talk about let's go back to normality, this is the new normal now. And I think that's why it's so important that we remain in communication with each other. We can have each other's backs. We can spread kindness and share happiness and all that. But what I like about the young people we work with is there's an honesty in your words, but also an honesty in your behavior and your actions. Whether positive or negative is for a different conversation. But I think that you both have highlighted some very, very key points, especially finite resources. Yeah.
Is that cold?
We're running out of helium, and
Yeah.
that's a concern.
That's
of
because
mine,
people make them
It's all those balloons,
and
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a finite resource, and let's just make clowns lift them in child pies and stuff.
Amazing.
Silliness.
So look, I'm gonna bring us to the end of the first episode
do it,
of
yeah.
the Base Talkz, but I'm gonna do it in style.
Oh, don't make us
As
do anything
always,
cringe,
as
Tom.
always.
Please.
And
It's not gonna be
Yeah,
like,
nothing,
"Thank you guys for
nothing
listening."
cringe.
We're not
Tom.
gonna do anything cringe. We're not gonna do anything cringe. I'm gonna ask just a question of you two,
Yeah.
just to round us off. For you two, quick question: if someone out there's listening to this thinking,
Yeah.
this is the first thing I've listened to about
Yeah.
Train. I don't know anything about Train. What would you say to them? Thinking of them in particular, listening to this.
How have
You've
you
got the
just heard of
headphones
Didcot Train?
How have you only just heard of Didcot
George,
Train?
the trick for inviting people isn't to start confrontation.
Yeah, maybe they're thinking about I'd quite like to do some of that stuff that Ruby and George have spoken about.
Yeah,
Where's
well,
he
dinner
from?
and debate.
On
Social media, give us a message. Well, not
you personally.
not me personally.
Didcot Train or
But-
the Didcot Train.
Didcot Train,
Volunteers,
or
yeah.
the volunteers, or
workers.
the workers.
Yeah.
So you just do it, basically, is what you're saying.
You just
Get
gotta,
involved.
like, this is what I mean. This is the whole point in just pushing yourself. You just got to do it.
Every
What
week
advice
they'll
would-
post the timetable of what activities
Yeah.
they've got this week going on.
So what
We'll
advice
do a
would
meet and
you
greet.
what advice would you give young people then?
Don't be scared.
Just
Don't be scared. They're not that scary.
We're not scary. We're
No
not
one's
scary.
scary. And like,
Sometimes we're cringy as well, right?
Oh, yeah,
don't get me started.
don't speak for all of us.
Yeah, that's Tom.
All right. Okay.
No, I'm joking. Tom's the joker of the group.
The joker of the group.
I'd say that as a collective with young people and volunteers and staff, as a whole collective, I think there's a very good dynamic.
Yeah, we've had some stuff. We've had highs. We've had.
Yeah, you have highs, you have
We've had bumps
lows.
in the road.
Sometimes you don't get enough sleep.
Yeah, and you just sit there yawning on your first ever podcast.
This is the first ever podcast, isn't it?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, look, thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
George is going to get a quick nap now before he goes off for the rest of
Yeah.
his day. I mean, it is only 1:30, but there you go.
So what I would like to end with is, of course, thank you to everyone. Thank you to Jaden, who's also yawning.
Jaden
Super
Productions.
Super producer. We really appreciate you with your Stormzy goggle, hoodie and whatnot. And George, Ruby, thank you both for coming down. Tom, of course, thank you for getting involved as well. And if you are listening, then really appreciate you checking out as well. Yeah, have a look on Instagram at Didcot Train, didcottrain.org.uk. Check out what we do.
Yeah, there you go.
And then there we go. And then
That's a wrap.
And now Ruby and George would like you to say thank you and sing it to the people listening.
Thanks for listening, guys. If you made it this far.
Thank you very much.
And we'll see you in the next episode.
See you.
Bonus clip incoming.
George can do his own.
Chocolate.
Baby, you make me ice and fire. You're giving me